You apply this thinking to universities in particular. There's yet another great image on trade-off between knowledge and conviction, and it's what's commonly. And actually, you can maybe explain to me the difference, but it's often referred to as the Dunning-Kruger effect, where when you first learn of a thing, you have an extremely high confidence about self-estimation of how well you understand that thing. You actually say that Dunning-Kruger means something else.
So yeah, it's everyone. When I post this, everyone's like Dunning-Kruger, and it's what everyone thinks Dunning-Kruger is. Yeah. Dunning-Kruger is a little different. It's you have a diagonal line like this one, right, which is the place you are. It's I call it like the humility tightrope. It's the humility sweet spot. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the right level of humility based on what you know. If you're below it, you're insecure. You actually have too much humility. You don't have enough confidence because you know more than you're giving yourself credit for. And when you're above the line, you're in the arrogant zone, right? You need a dose of humility, right? You think you know more than you do. So we all want to stay on that tightrope. And Dunning-Kruger is basically a straight line that's just has a lower slope. So you start off, you still are getting more confident as you go along, mm-hmm. but you start off above that line, and as you learn more, you end up below the line later. So, but anyway,
so this wavy thing
is a different phenomenon, and it's related. But
so this idea. So for people just listening, there's a child's hill. Pretty damn sure you know a whole lot and feeling great about it. That's in the beginning, and then there's an insecure canyon. You crash down, acknowledging that you don't know that much, and then there's a growth mountain.
Grown-up
mountain, where after you feel ashamed and embarrassed about not knowing that much, you begin to realize that knowing how little you know is the first step in becoming someone who actually knows stuff, and that's the grown-up mountain. And you climb and climb and climb. You're saying that in universities we're pinning people at the top of the child's hill.
So for me, this is a very... I think of myself with this because I went to college like a lot of 18-year-olds, and I was very cocky. I just thought I knew a lot, and when it came to politics, I was like bright blue just because I grew up in a bright blue suburb, and I wasn't thinking that hard about it. And I thought that, and what I did when I went to college is met a lot of smart conservatives and a lot of smart progressives. But I met a lot of people who weren't just going down a checklist, and they knew stuff. And suddenly I realized that like a lot of these views I have are not based on knowledge. Mm-hmm. They're based on other people's conviction. Everyone else thinks that's true. So now I think it's whoa. I'm actually like I'm transferring someone else's conviction to me, and who knows why they have conviction? They might have conviction because they're transferring from someone else. And I'm a smart dude. I thought, why am I like giving away my own independent, learning abilities here and just adopting other views. So anyway, it was this humbling experience. And it wasn't just about politics, by the way. It was that I had strong views about a lot of stuff. And I got lucky, not lucky. I sought out, the kind of people I sought out were the type that loved to disagree. And they knew stuff. And so you're quickly in again, Idea Lab culture. It was an Idea Lab. And also, I started getting in the habit. I started loving listening to people who disagreed with me because it was so exhilarating listening to a smart person when I thought there was no credence to this other argument, right? Mm-hmm. This side of this debate is obviously wrong. I wanted to see an intelligence squared on that debate in particular. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go see, I actually got into intelligence squared in college. I wanted to see a smart person who disagrees with me talk. It became so fascinating to me, right? It was the most interesting thing. That was a new thing. I didn't think I liked that. And so what did that do? That shoved me down the humble tumble here at number 3. It shoved me down where I started to, and then I went the other way where I realized that a lot of my identity had been based on this faux feeling of knowledge, this idea that I thought I knew everything. Now that I don't have that, I felt really like dumb, and I felt really almost like embarrassed of what I knew. And so that's where I call this insecure canyon. I think it's sometimes when you're so used to thinking you know everything and then you realize you don't, and then you start to realize that actually really awesome thinkers, they don't judge me for this. They totally respect if I say, I don't know anything about this. They say, oh, cool, you should read this and this and this. They don't say, you don't know anything. They don't say that, right? And so And not that by the way, this is not to say I'm now on Grown Up Mountain and you should all join me. I am often find myself drifting up with like a helium balloon. Oh, I think I read about a new thing and suddenly I think I read 3 things about, a new AI thing. And I'm like, I'll go do a talk on this. I'm like, no, I won't. I don't, I'm going to just be spouting out the opinion of the person I just read. So I have to remind myself, but it's useful. Now, the reason my problem with colleges today is that I graduated in 2004. This is a recent change, is that all of those speakers I went who disagreed with me, a lot of them were conservative. So many of those speakers would not be allowed on campuses today. And so many of the discussions I had were in big groups or classrooms. And this is still, this was a liberal campus. So many of those disagreements, they're not happening today. And I've interviewed a ton of college students. It's chilly. It is, people keep to themselves. So what's happening is not only are people losing that push off Child's Hill, which was so valuable to me as a thinker. It kind of started my life as a better thinker. They're losing that, but actually a lot of the college classes and the vibe in colleges, a lot of what it is now saying that there is one right set of views. And it's this kind of, woke ideology. And it's right. And anyone who disagrees with it is bad. And anyone, and don't speak up, unless you're going to agree with it. It's teaching people that Child's Hill is that, it's nailing people's feet to Child's Hill. It's teaching people that these are right, these views are right, and like you don't have any, you should feel a complete conviction about them.
Yeah. How do we fix it? Is it part of the administration? Is it part of the culture? Is it part of the is it part like actually instilling in the individual, like 18-year-olds, the idea that this is the beautiful way to live is to embrace the disagreement and the growth from that?
It's awareness and courage. It's the same thing. So first of all, just when awareness is people need to see what's happening here, that kids are they're not going to college and becoming better, tougher, more robust thinkers.
Yeah.
They're actually going to college and becoming zealots. They're getting taught to be zealots. And the website still advertises, wide variety of view. The website is a bait and switch.
You list all the universities, Harvard.
It's a bait and switch. It's still saying, here you're coming here for a wide intellectual. Basically, they're advertising this is an idea lab, and you get there, and it's like actually it's an echo chamber that you're paying money for. So if people realize that, they start to get mad, hopefully, and then courage. I mean, starts. Yes, brave students. There's been some very brave students who have started, big think clubs and stuff like that, where it's like we're going to have, present both sides of a debate here, and that takes courage, but also courage and leadership. It's like if you look at these colleges, it's specifically the leaders who show strength, who get the best results. Remember, the cudgel is soft. So if a leader of one of these places says, the college presidents who have shown some strength, they actually don't get as much trouble. It's the ones who pander, the ones who in that moment of truth, they shrink away, then they get a lot more trouble. The mob smells blood.